Greetings. Welcome back if you joined us for our previous segments, and we welcome in our new viewers. We are coming to you live from Wespath's headquarters in Glenview, Illinois, where we have transformed our Wesley Hall into a studio and where we are reminded of our core values, important words like stewardship, mutual respect, integrity, customer satisfaction, as we live into our mission of caring for those who serve. My name is Bob Christoffel. I serve as your manager of benefits education and co-host for this live broadcast. Welcome. Welcome to Live from Wespath, Our World, Your World, and the Church World. These are 3 live news segments with content relevant for you, our United Methodist Church community. I want to really thank you for joining us. Welcome to the broadcast. With me is co-host and longtime colleague, senior benefits educator, Frank O'Brien. Hello, Frank.
Hello, Bob. It is absolutely my pleasure to be with you today to co-host Live from Wespath. Do you know, Bob, we have had over 2,500 registrants for this event. It's very exciting. We thank you all for tuning in and watching us live. Our goal for this broadcast today is to share Wespath's insights on the issues that matter most to our UMC community. If our faces look familiar, well, you might have seen us at one of your annual conference events where we were doing a pre-retirement or UMPIP seminar, or maybe you've met us virtually while we do several of our benefit education webinars or our one-on-one benefit education consultations.
Thanks, Frank. You might have actually seen us very recently as it's been a really busy retirement season. A few housekeeping items before we get started. The platform we are using today is interactive. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the broadcast. Please use the question and answer icon to submit your questions. These will be private and they'll go directly to Wespath staff. These are subject matter experts working behind the scenes to answer any questions. Technical issues, audio issues, please also use the question and answer icon. Many of you, actually hundreds of you, submitted questions along the registration process. And we have attempted to answer these questions today. But in the event we can't get to them all, we will be following up with you after the broadcast next week with some additional resources, links to the recordings, as well as a survey to gauge your interest in future Wespath-sponsored events.
And I would like to echo Bob's request for you to complete that survey. We do look at the survey results, and it's very informative for us to continue to develop content and programming for you as we move along. Our third segment, Your World, begins with frequently asked questions about Compass, Wespath's retirement plan proposal at General Conference, and its impact for clergy participants going forward. With us are Kim Olson and Frederick Hyland. Welcome, Kim, and Fred.
Thanks, Frank. Happy to be here today. I'm the Director of Retirement Services here at Wespath, and my colleague, Frederick Hyland, is the Managing Director of Actuarial Services and Reporting. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Kim. I'm happy to be here.
Good. The first question that I have for you is acknowledging that the UMC has been through a lot of change over the last few years, and I think Dolamar and Dale did a great job of talking about that change. Why do you think now is the time that the UMC should be considering to change the mandatory retirement plan?
Kim, indeed, the denomination has been going through quite a bit of change. Not only have we seen a reduction in the members, but also in the number of churches. Because of that, there are many things that were important for us to consider as we developed Compass. The first of which is sustainability. We wanted to make sure we developed a plan that was able to be supported by the denomination for generations to come. Our current program, CRISP, is a defined contribution program, which is susceptible to, let's call it, long-term contribution pressure.
Defined benefit plan.
Yes, defined
Yes.
benefit plan.
Yes.
The long-term contribution pressures. However, Compass is a defined contribution plan. And that is a plan where the plan is funded in the year that the benefits are earned. So there's no long-term obligations that are being developed. In addition, we've also focused on affordability. We want to make sure that the cost of the benefits are at a level that is within the means of the denomination to pay.
Okay, I think what you have just indicated said to me that there was a lot to consider, a lot of different stakeholders that we needed to think about in designing a new plan. So, can you help us to understand what process Wespath went through in order to design this new plan?
Sure. We did indeed talk to many stakeholders. We first talked to our board of directors, including members of the Bellwether Services Committee, which is the committee that has oversight over plan design. In addition, we talked to some plan sponsors. We utilized the Conference Advisory Board as our feedback mechanism from plan sponsors, as that is a board that consists of conference benefit officers. We also talked to some participants. In this case, we use YLAB, which is our Young Leaders Advisory Board, consisting of young clergy. This group gave us some insight on what they thought was important for us to consider as we moved forward with Compass. We focused, because of their feedback, on adequacy as one of our other items. With adequacy, we want to make sure that the benefits that the program generates in conjunction with Social Security was enough to supply participants with an income that allows them to live comfortably in retirement. The trick or the rub here is that you need to balance affordability with adequacy to make sure that that is calibrated properly in order for sustainability to exist. The other item was flexibility. It was important to us that the new plan was flexible, and in this case, we made sure that they had account balances available to them that could be passed on to beneficiaries. We also wanted to continue to make sure that we upheld long-standing values that were embedded in all of our prior denominational retirement programs. The first of those values was equity, which focuses on making sure that all clergy, regardless of their pay level, received an adequate income in retirement. So many of Compass's features focus on making sure that lower paid clergy get an adequate income. In addition, another one of the values that was brought to our attention to continue to incorporate into our plan was the value of providing lifetime income.
You've been very busy talking to a lot of people and still being the actuary for all of the retirement plans. Congratulations. So this is a defined contribution plan. I don't understand how I can get lifetime income from it, and is there still a chance that a clergy or their beneficiary could run out of money?
Kim, with any defined contribution plan, there is a chance that a participant could run out of money. But Wespath has developed an award-winning program called Life Stage Retirement Income, and that can be used to help participants work through this and provide lifetime income. I will cover some of the components of that program now. The first component is one that develops and recommends, using an algorithm designed by investment and benefits professionals, the amount that a participant can take out without having to fear outliving their retirement funds. The second component is optional, and it's called the Social Security Bridge. This enables participants to maximize the amount of the benefit that they get from Social Security. In doing so, they increase the proportion of their benefit that is based on a lifetime guaranteed annuity.
And at what age does Social Security become maximized, if you will?
Well, according to the current Social Security calculation process, you would maximize that benefit if you deferred starting it until age 70.
Great, that's good to know.
Yes. The other part of the program is the opportunity to purchase longevity protection. This is in the form of a deferred annuity purchased with an insurance company that begins paying lifetime guaranteed benefits starting at age 80.
So if you have that, if you purchase that portion, then you are guaranteed to have lifetime income indeed through Social Security and this longevity income protection, along with any of the remaining defined contribution assets that are left at age 80.
That is correct.
That is great. So we talked earlier about equity and how it impacts lower paid clergy. Like those are the people who I think sometimes get forgotten when you're planning a new benefit plan. So how can we help people understand that this is an adequate program for the lower paid as well as the higher paid?
As we worked with Compass, we wanted to make sure and include in it some features directly related to this issue. So I've put together some of them here for you to look at. We first wanted to think about clergy student debt. Many clergy often debate between paying off their student loans and putting money into the plan and starting their retirement savings. We think that's an unfair debate to have, and so we've been utilizing some of the new legislation that has been passed to enable the payoff of your student loans to count as participant contributions and thus allow you to use that to earn matching contributions from your plan sponsor. Another feature that we put into the program of Compass is that we've changed how we've calculated the parsonage value. We've increased it from 25% up to 30% with some 35% with some maximums and minimums. And that will increase the compensation that is used in doing the calculation and thus increase the benefits that are provided.
That sounds great for helping the lower paid clergy especially, right?
Yeah, it does. And we've also included some automatic features as well, including automatic enrollment and automatic escalation. Automatic enrollment enrolls clergy automatically, kind of like the name sounds, and automatic escalation increases the contribution rate that the clergy is enrolled at every year up until a threshold that is set by the individual plan sponsors. But have no fear, clergy are allowed to dial back this to suit their individual financial situations.
That's great. And if they wanted to contribute, say, 10% of their pay, even though we would suggest starting at 4%, could they still do the 10%?
Yes, they can still go in and change it to be whatever they need it to be for their financial situation or their financial goals.
And do we have any idea of what percentage of clergy are currently contributing 4% or at least contributing to the CRISP plan as it is currently?
Right now, about 86% of clergy are currently contributing to the CRISP plan.
Fantastic.
One other thing I want to talk about with regard to the lower paid clergy and addressing concerns around them is that we've included certain plan features in Compass directly focused on addressing low paid clergy concerns. And one of those features is the flat dollar contribution.
Okay, well, that's a good opportunity for us to talk about the flat dollar contribution and then perhaps also the other components that make up the Compass program.
Oh, okay. So the Compass program is made up of 3 parts. The first is the flat dollar contribution, which is $150 per month. This will be indexed at 2% per year. The second part is a pay-dependent contribution of 3% of pay that will be provided by the plan sponsor. The third part is the matching contribution, where the plan sponsor would match 100% of the participant's contribution up to 4%. This is the part that is related to the student debt feature that I mentioned earlier, where if you pay off your student debt, you would get to use that payoff as a contribution in the matching contribution calculation and get a matching contribution from the plan sponsor based on the student debt that you paid off.
Okay. So I think what I just heard is that, let's see, 3% plus 4% plus another 4% is going to be 11% of a person's pay, plus the $150 a month per month that you are active. So I think that's a really good benefit for anyone, really would be happy with that. So let's talk about, I know when there is change, there is always a difficulty understanding how it might impact me, and we're always looking to try to help with that. So let's look at people who are under the current program of CRISP, or maybe are already retired through MPP, or even pre-82. Let's look at it in three different ways. So for those people who are currently receiving retirement benefits through Wespath, how should they think about the new program?
They shouldn't have any worries about the new program. If you're currently receiving benefits from CRISP, MPP, Pre-82, CRISP DC, all of those benefits will continue to be distributed to you exactly like they are right now. The start of Compass has no impact on you or the benefits you receive.
That's great. So everyone who is out there listening right now concerned about what about me and I'm already receiving income, no impact at all.
That's correct.
What about the long tenured clergy? Those are like 5 to 10 years away from retiring.
Okay, individuals in that situation, the first thing I want to make sure they understand is that any benefits that they've currently earned under CRISP, MPP, or Pre-82 are retained. They don't lose any of their accrued benefits. What does change, however, is starting in 2026, assuming that Compass is passed and begins in 2026, any new benefits that they earned will be under Compass instead of being under CRISP.
Okay.
For those individuals, I would expect that compared to what they would have gotten if CRISP had continued, I would expect their benefits to be in the range of 92 to 98% of what they would have gotten had CRISP continued.
So it probably, if they're longer away from retirement, like 10 years, that's probably in the 90 to 93%. But if they're retiring in 2026, it's probably very neutral. Is that a good way to think about it?
Yes.
Okay. And what about younger clergy? I think they are the lightning bolts to lead us into the future. How can we make sure that they're going to be safe in their retirement as they're helping our communities build?
So the younger clergy would have the majority of their benefits earned under Compass. If they were to compare their benefits under Compass to what they would have gotten under CRISP, I would split them up into two different groups.
Okay.
Those that are earning compensation around the level of the DAC or lower.
And sorry, what is the DAC?
The denominational average compensation.
Okay.
Which is an average of the compensation for all the full-time participants across the denomination.
And that's part of the current CRSP calculation, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. So the participants that are earning less than the denominational average compensation, or around the same as the denominational average compensation, they can expect that their benefits would be about 90% of what they would have gotten under CRISP.
Okay.
If they were making more than the denominational average compensation, they would actually expect that their benefits would be higher than they would have gotten under CRISP. One thing to keep in mind is that we still expect lower paid clergy, especially, to get income in retirement that is close to, if not a little bit above, what their pre-retirement salaries were.
Oh, that's really good news. And that's because of that $150 contribution, maybe?
That plays
Yeah.
a part, yes.
Okay, okay. Well, that's great. I think this new program is going to be really helpful to the UMC should it pass during General Conference. And I will just put a little plug in for Wespath. We will be attending General Conference, and please feel free to stop by our booth and we can make sure that we get all of your questions answered as well. That's all that we had as prepared comments. Let's turn it back to Frank and Bob and see if they have any questions for us.
Well, thank you, Kim, and thank you, Fred. This is very good, very important information that you have shared with us today. We do have some questions for you. First question I'll start with is, I'm retiring in a few years. How will Compass affect my benefits?
Well, that's a great question. I feel like we answered that while we were talking. It's going to depend on what the few means, but I think overall what I heard Fred say, and I'll get him to confirm it, is it should have a marginal and or small impact on your retirement. It's going to depend on a few factors, such as your pay versus what your the denominational average compensation is, and if you're going to be working for 10 years versus 5 years. There's a lot of different considerations, and so it's difficult unless we dive into some detail, which we are excited to do, and we are already working on some programming within the benefits access application for you to go in and do some modeling if this passes at General Conference. Is that right, Fred?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions to Frank and Bob?
Yes, assuming Compass passes at General Conference, are you or Wespath concerned that clergy might not actually contribute enough to earn the full matching contribution?
Oh, wow. I'll turn that over to Fred. He's the data analytics person.
Well, we've been doing some analysis, and we looked at the 2023 contribution rates for full-time clergy. And as I said before, 86% of full-time clergy are contributing. And of those individuals, the contribution rate averaged at about 6.6%. So with that in mind, I'm not that concerned about people contributing at least 4%, because 6.6% is already above that threshold.
Okay, that's great to know. And
Yes.
yeah, that's wonderful. So no, we are not concerned, Bob.
Another question that's come through, can you revisit more about the parsonage contribution and how that gets played out in Compass?
Sure. So I will just start by saying that right now in CRSP, the parsonage is considered to be 25% of pay. Going into Compass, it will be increased to 35% of pay. So then, Fred, can you talk about how the 25% and 35% are used in CRISP and then in Compass?
Okay, so the parsonage value is included in what is known as pensionable earnings, or your compensation that is used when calculating benefits under any of the retirement programs. Under CRISP, you would calculate the pensionable earnings by taking your salary and adding an additional 25%. With the changes we've made, when you go to calculate your contribution rate or your contribution dollar amount under Compass, you would take your salary and add an additional 35% when you do that calculation.
Okay, so that would impact the 3% that the plan sponsor is going to pay.
Yes,
And
and the
the
match.
4% for matching contribution.
That is correct.
Great. Okay, I hope that helped to explain that piece of it.
You had mentioned the DAC, or the denominational average compensation, which, just to be clear, is the average compensation of full-time clergy throughout the U.S. denomination. What is the future of the DAC going forward for somebody with an accrued benefit in CRSP-DB?
Oh, that's a great question.
Okay, so the DAC is primarily used in calculating the benefits under CRSP.
In the defined benefit part, is that right?
Defined benefit part of
Okay.
CRSP, correct. With the legislation as it currently stands, when CRSP stops, in theory, at the end of 2025, the DAC will continue to be indexed upwards at 2%. So, for example, someone retiring in 2025 will have the 2025 DAC used in their calculation, and someone that retired in 2026 will have the 2025 DAC used, but with an additional 2% added on top. So a 2% increase in the DAC will be used when doing the 2026 calculation, and so on for the years into the future.
So that benefit then somehow gets indexed a little bit, is that right?
Yes, it's almost as though people continue to earn pay in the plan, but it's being measured by a fixed 2% increase in the DAC.
Okay, I think I understand that. Any other questions come through? This is such an interesting topic.
Yes, it is, and we do have a few more questions for you. And some of them have to deal with the lower paid clergy. So the general question is, how will this plan help lower paid clergy?
Okay, so there are a couple things we've gone over with regard to how the plan works with lower paid clergy. One of which, of course, we mentioned was the clergy student debt feature, which helps lower paid clergy by removing the temptation to forego paying off debt so that they can put it in the plan, or to forgo putting things in the plan so they can pay off debt. That decision does not have to bother them anymore. They can go ahead and pay off the debt, and that debt payment will be counted as though it was a participant contribution, and thus continue to earn themselves a match. We've also considered lower paid clergy when we put in the flat dollar contribution amount. This is a flat dollar for everybody, and so if you consider it as a percentage of someone's pay, it is a much higher percent of a lower paid clergy's pay than it is for a higher paid clergy's pay. So that in itself helps lower paid clergy to attain a retirement income that is adequate for their needs in retirement.
Any other questions? I see our time is almost up. Hopefully we have helped people understand all of the components of Compass, and Wespath will continue to do that should it pass at General Conference. Bob and Frank, any further questions?
No, thank you very much, both of you, for this important discussion. Really great information. I love the interaction with our live viewers here. And just to repeat what Kim just said, please know that Wespath is indeed committed to keeping you informed about General Conference approval of Compass. We are going to be planning webinars and online resources, but keep in mind you can always reach out and ask assistance of our Wespath customer service team and our long-term partnership with EY Financial Planning Services.
Our final topic of the day will cover how the new HealthFlex Care Coordination Service can significantly improve your healthcare experience and help you get the most of your healthcare benefits. We're joined by Nikki Landing and Kelly Wittich. Welcome back, Kelly. Nice to see the two of you. What can you share with us today?
Thank you so much, Frank and Bob. We appreciate it. I am excited to have Nikki Landing here with me.
I'm very excited to be back to talk about some updates with regards to care coordination.
So care coordination, we teased that last year at this time in Live from Wespath, and now we're back. It's real, it's live, it's here. What is care coordination, Nikki, and who is it for?
Okay, so care coordination is a team-based service that is available to our participants and their families who are enrolled or participating in one of our HealthFlex plans.
Okay.
The service helps in managing patient care, helping them become healthier, and getting some time back into their day.
Okay, so kind of like a one place, one stop shop that they can call.
Exactly, exactly. And the goal is to enhance the participant experience. It's one place to call, one phone call to make. When in doubt, call your Wespath care coordinator. Issue is not too small or too big for
Okay.
them to handle. And it helps improve overall health and reduce the medical costs, not only to the participant, but also to the plan and the church overall.
Okay, well, that sounds like a lot of really good things. I mean, that maybe that by itself is why Wespath chose to implement care coordination, but do you care to shed more
Elaborate.
light on
Right.
that?
One of the major goals was to remove the participant from the middle.
Yeah.
A lot of times you've got to call this doctor, and you're doing things yourself. And honestly, I'm not the expert of my health care, but the care coordinators are.
Okay.
And so it reduces the angst for our participants, and so that they can focus on the things that mean the most to them, and to invest in their ministries.
Yeah.
So that is what's important. We wanted to give them that time back in their day. They don't have to be the expert, and they can call the care coordinator and just make the one phone call, and the care coordinator will take it from there and keep them abreast of the issue.
Well, I mean, the healthcare system and navigating can be very difficult. And if you aren't experienced yourself, I mean, it really does help to have an advocate
Yes.
working with you to take you out of the middle, as you say.
Right, right. And then you have where the participants, they may not know everything, so the patient education, being an advocate for them, explaining things in a way that they would understand instead of the medical lingo. So this helps them to be more engaged in their health, in the health, the costs that are associated with healthcare, and overall that helps us be better stewards of our health, our healthcare dollars, and also of our time.
Well, and that really comes in handy because a lot of the times you're making these decisions when you are, not in the best headspace, right? Like when you get a new diagnosis, when you're navigating a confusing system, that's not really the best time to take in information. And so it sounds like the care coordinator can kind of be that backstop if some of the information that the doctor shared didn't sink all the way in, perhaps.
That's true. That's
Okay.
true.
Well, this also allows our clergy and lay participants to really focus on their gifts and graces and what they contribute and how they serve the community and the world, and let us and the care coordinator serve them in what is the care coordinator's expertise. So that
Yes.
sounds great.
Yes.
So we've been using it now for coming up, or I guess just over 3 months.
Yes, just over 3
Have we
months.
seen any good stories? Like, are things going all right?
Yes, things are going quite well, and we have had actually quite a few stories.
Okay.
I settled on highlighting 2 of those stories
Okay.
today, just to show the expertise and that high touch
Okay.
experience may not necessarily be related to medical or to health.
Okay.
The first is we had a participant who called the care coordinator, and they called their doctor's office that they've had for over 25 years, and doctor's office was closed, shut down, no working phone number.
That's got to be
Right.
anxiety producing there.
Right. Doors are locked, but 25 years, that's a lot of medical history.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of medical records. And so those are very important when you are seeking a new physician.
Yeah.
So call their care coordinator. Within an hour, the care coordinator not only tracked down the doctor, but they were able to track down this is where the storage company for all of his patient records.
Wow.
And the process that the participant needed to go through to obtain those records.
I mean, that was definitely not on the list of
Right.
requirements
Detective.
when we hired the care coordinators. That wasn't one of the use cases we were expecting, but probably very impactful for the member that it helped.
Very impactful, especially when you're just like, who do I even
What do I
call
do?
for?
Yeah.
Who do I even call for something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
And it was great that the care coordinator was able to assist with that issue.
Well, that's a good one. You said you had another.
I do. The other one is a participant who called their Wespath care coordinator for something that was simple and easily answered. But one thing that myself as well as our participants, empathy and that extra mile goes
Yeah, it makes a
means a
difference,
lot.
right? Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. So when you're able to connect with someone, you're talking to them about different things that are going on. So even though the participant's question was answered, she mentioned that she had to call her doctor's office, and it's always a wait on hold.
Okay.
She had an appointment that afternoon, but it takes so long on the phone. She needs to get ready for her appointment, take a shower, and the appointment that she was getting ready for was chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And the care coordinator basically made the call, sat on hold while this participant took a shower, got ready for their chemotherapy appointment.
So, like, again, one of those things where they can certainly do that. It's not like they were in the middle, but it was sort of like taking that burden off of the member at a time
Yes.
that they really needed it most.
Right. And at a time where you don't know how much you needed that,
Yeah.
just to be able to have that time,
That moment to yourself to
that
kind of
time
mentally
back.
prepare.
Mhm,
Yeah.
that time back.
Yeah. Well, those are really good stories. So, is it just a couple people using it, or?
Well, we pulled some stats at the beginning of the month of April, and the first quarter we saw about 25% of our HealthFlex enrolled participants, which is about 4,500.
Yeah, I was going to say thousands of people
Right.
are using this.
Yes,
That's fantastic.
that have reached out to care coordinators as far as phone calls. There's also chat
Okay.
features.
So if you don't want to talk to somebody, you still have an option.
Exactly. There have been over 400 chats
Okay.
with the care coordinator. Over 4,400, so just about the same as the calls of participants. We've had almost the same in provider phone calls.
Okay, so that's another thing the care coordinator does is they have a conversation with the
Yes.
provider, and often just as frequently as they're having the conversations with the member.
Yes.
That's
So I think that's a
fantastic.
very good stat.
That's like 4,000 calls that the HealthFlex participants didn't have to make, right?
Exactly.
That sounds like a really good stat.
Right. So then there's thousands of visits to the website,
Okay.
to the webpage for care coordination. Most of those are to either request an ID card, download an electronic version of an ID card,
Okay.
look at benefits, you look at your benefits, or look at some recent claim activity on the web. So it's a great sign
Yeah.
that our participants are using the service but engaged in the
That's
service.
fantastic. That's great to hear. So with that many people using the program, have we had any problems? Have there been any issues?
Yes. The first month or two, we had a few hiccups with regards to ID cards and
Okay.
getting used to that. Especially when prior carriers that we've had these ID cards for years.
Yeah.
You're used
Especially
to them.
if you're not changing the plan, right? You've got that same ID number forever.
Right, right.
Yep.
So, some of the things that changed and made it difficult, not only for the participants, but we found that it was the provider community.
Okay.
Specifically, doctors' offices and pharmacies.
Okay.
Because that ID card has been on file, and even though you may change different plans, the information has not changed.
Okay.
As far as phone numbers, as far as the subscriber ID. So those have been on file, and you call in for a refill, and they're going through the old
Okay.
card and old ID. On the screen, there is a picture of our new ID cards for
Okay.
everyone.
Everybody got a new ID card this year.
Everyone
Yep.
got an ID card, and there is a number for participants to call for care coordinators, and also for provider services
Okay.
for the providers to call, and based on the over 4,000.
They're using it.
They're using it. So the things that you want to make sure of is, number one, is this new card on file at your doctor's office? Have they replaced the old information with the new information? When you go to the pharmacy, a lot of time we do refills online
Yep, yep.
or call in for refills. So we want to make sure that before we go to pick up that refill, that they have the new card and that their systems have been updated.
And I think you shared with me before that sometimes the member thought they gave the provider the new card, they gave the pharmacist the new card, but somewhere deep in the recesses of the system, they were
Right.
still sending claims to the old card.
Right.
Right.
And that's because it's not system based.
Right.
A lot of times when we go to our doctor's office,
Yeah.
our doctor's office, and they take that scan, they're only taking a copy.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere from there, and there's someone that's got to do some data entry.
You know, I
into
noticed that too
information.
in my own record. I scanned in my new card, and then the next appointment, I was like, "You still have the wrong stuff. I'm going to scan in the new card again."
Right,
So,
right.
so sometimes by no fault of the HealthFlex participant or their family member, they can get this message of denial. So, what do they do if they're standing in their doctor's office and they're like, "You don't have coverage"?
Definitely call your Wespath care coordinator.
Okay.
Because they can not only assist with medical issues, claims, but also with pharmacy
Okay.
issues. So if you're standing at the doctor's office, if you're at the pharmacy, call your care coordinator. Don't get frustrated, and they'll be able to help you
Release
through
that
it.
frustration.
Yes.
So, how do you call your care coordinator, or how do you connect with your care coordinator?
Well, there are a couple of ways.
Okay.
The most common is to call your care coordinator by phone, and they are available in Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. You can also chat with them.
Okay.
And the online services through your benefits access portal.
Okay.
You can log on and go straight
Everything
into
starts at Benefits Access, Nikki.
Yes, yes, yes. Benefits
Yes,
access
it's
is
the
your
place
friend.
to be.
Right, it's your friend. But that is the main hub, and from there you can go into your health details and care coordination, just as you looked at your health and medical plans before.
And we have some screenshots, right, of what that looks like in Benefits Access?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you log into Benefits Access, and then on that Health tab, there's a link that says Care Coordination right there.
Yes, yes, and that is for your medical benefits and behavioral health, because behavioral health is part of the medical benefit.
So what happens if they click that?
So if they click that, they are taken
Oh, there
to
we
the
go.
Care Coordination website. And this is where you can view your ID card. You can print out an electronic one. Again, claims,
Yep.
plan information, message, secure message to a care coordinator if there's something that's not urgent and you can wait
Okay.
to get a response back, but you don't really have the time to call or the time to
Or you don't like to
exchange
be
chat.
on the phone.
Right, or exchange
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a chat. Send a secure message
Okay,
and
lots of
and or
choices.
chat with your care coordinator to have your question answered.
All right. Well, that sounds fantastic. So does that mean that nobody calls Wespath anymore? Can we not help?
Oh no, we're still
Okay.
here.
Whew.
Yes, our active benefits team is still here.
Okay.
And they have they are able to help you with any claims that you have that were pre-2024, so
Okay. So
2020,
last year's
2023.
claims.
So
Okay.
if you have some run out from there or a claim that has not been paid.
And sometimes that happens. They just
Yes,
don't pay them
yes.
for a few months, and
Right,
then it's
right.
still here. Okay.
Yes, and if there are some other issues that you may have had, say, for instance, there was a pre-approval or some care treatment plan that you've had before.
Okay.
They can help coordinate between you and get you to a Wespath, transfer you to a Wespath care coordinator.
Okay.
To, to
So
kind
if
of.
it's if Wespath's
get that
not the
tr-
right spot, we can get you over to the care coordinator.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly. And sometimes, it's not just 2024, it may be a crossover and marriage of the two.
Okay. All right. Well, if you had one thing to tell our listeners today, our viewers, what would you tell them to do?
Call your Wespath care coordinator.
You heard it here.
No matter how big, no
Yep.
matter how small, or if you just don't know. Call
Give them a
your Wes-
chance. Yep.
give
Give
them
them
a
a
chance.
shot. Yep. Awesome. Well, Bob and Frank, hopefully that was helpful for our audience today. Do we have any questions that you want to share with us?
That was extremely helpful. And Nikki, I did take your guidance. I did make that phone call to the care coordinators. They were very helpful. I know Frank has used them as well.
I have.
We received just so much support and really just some thanks. Thank you for making HealthFlex an even better healthcare plan. Thank you for your continued innovation. A couple people commented on the ID card issue, which has been resolved. We do have a lot of questions if you have some time. First one, very straightforward. Does it cost me anything more, any extra costs to call these care coordinators?
No. It is, the care coordinators does not make HealthFlex any more expensive.
Good.
Okay. And rates slightly increased in 2024 as well as 2025 that we expect by having care coordination than if we did not have
So they were a
care
little
coordination.
less in
Yes.
24 and 25 than they would have been if we didn't implement it.
Right, if we
Yeah.
had not implemented this, this service, we would probably not see those savings. And the CBA partners that we
Church
have.
Benefits Association.
Right.
Yep.
The partners that we have that utilize this same service has reported a reduction in claims year over year.
Yeah.
Since they've had it.
And we are really, really hoping to see that same trend that some of our peers in the Church Benefits Association had. Yep, that's very
That's
true.
true. That's
Very
true.
true.
Okay, we do have an additional question. It's an interesting question. I like calling my church benefits person. They're so nice, and I know them very well. Can I still call them for help with my health care benefits?
Of course.
Yes, and if you're calling them to check on them, I have
hello, yeah.
right to
Yeah.
say hello. I also have a lot of quite a few of our plan sponsor contacts who I've built relationships
Yep,
with
yep.
over the year.
Lovely
and
to talk to.
Lovely
Yep.
to talk to, and I was the point of escalation. But
Yep.
I will direct them to the Wespath Care Coordinator. They're the experts. They have the information. Your plan sponsor contact cannot call them for you.
Nope, you got to call them yourself.
Gotta call them yourself. But that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of check on them, and they will, help you navigate through and provide you with any information that you may have missed in order to get in touch with a coordinator.
Well, and they again, we know these folks well, and they are wonderful people, and they want to help you. So they may tell you to call your Wespath Care Coordinator because they know you can get a more efficient and probably quicker answer if you go that route. So call your
Yes.
Wespath Care Coordinator.
Yes, yes. Now, there are some times and that you would not call your care coordinator if you go to your plan sponsor and it's with regards to your HSA or your FSA or HRA.
You can come to Wespath for those
Right,
as well.
you can come
Yep.
to Wespath for that, or if it's a dental or vision issue, that's something that you can come to the Wespath Active Benefits team. But
Call your care
medical,
coordinator.
right, medical, behavioral health, pharmacy issues, or just not sure.
That's a good place to start. It's always good to have a good place to start, Bob. Frank.
Absolutely. How is the new care coordination service different than medical case management, catastrophic illness, and injury programs? It sounds like this benefit can help people with just, run-of-the-mill medical needs.
Well, it's really both, isn't it, Nikki? I mean, it helps people with the complex needs as well as those with run-of-the-mill needs.
With it helps with both. If you're talking about critical illness, that's a different type of, that's a type of insurance.
Right.
Whereas this is a service.
Yeah, helping you
And-
navigate that.
Right,
Yeah.
and it helps you navigate it, patient education, and helping. Years ago, I was. They said it's kind of like you're taking the fox out of the hen house, so it's a unbiased.
Yeah.
They are here to help you.
Well, and sometimes traditional case management happens like weeks or months after
Right,
you actually
right.
need them.
Somewhat
right?
in a bubble.
Yep. So this is something that happens like real time as you need it, and I
Right.
think that's a lot more helpful.
Right.
All right.
All right, we continue with some questions. Can the care coordinator help navigate billing questions and insurance payment questions?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. They can help with the bills that you may receive, or you don't quite understand how the bill was processed as far as coding.
Yep.
Was it preventive? Was it diagnostic?
Definitely not our gifts and graces to pay attention to bill coding, right?
Right. So they can contact those offices, and if there is something where it has been outstanding for a while, they can also work with agencies that may be trying to collect on the behalf of a doctor, have everything put on hold for a while they work through all of those details.
Good, good. Any others for us?
We just have one final question. Does care coordination relate to exchange health plans contracted through via benefits in retirement, such as Blue Cross Medicare supplemental plans?
No.
Just HealthFlex.
It's only HealthFlex, and that is for our active participants. And it does not include our retirees.
Except pre-65 retirees that are in our HealthFlex plan.
Right, it's
Yeah.
a pre-65 retirees.
HealthFlex only, it's a great reason to be in HealthFlex, isn't it?
It is, it is.
Okay, well, Kelly and Nikki, thank you for being here to shed some light on these great benefits. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us for the Your World segment of Live from Wespath. We appreciate you being here and hope you found this information meaningful and relevant. As we begin to wrap up our program for today, I would like to remind our viewers that the best way to stay up to date on your benefit plans and services is to follow us on social media, which provides the latest and greatest resources Wespath has to offer. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and X, which used to be known as Twitter. Just a reminder that Live from Wespath was recorded, and next week you will receive the recording links, additional resources, and a follow-up survey so that we may gauge your interest in future Wespath-sponsored events.
As we close out Live from Wespath, I just wanted to mention, our core values again, and teamwork is an important one here at Wespath. I just want to thank all of those, and there's a lot of people involved behind the scenes in bringing this three worlds for you today. We have subject matter experts, content managers, communications staff, facility staff, IT staff, a core planning team that's really been working on this event since January. So really great teamwork, really great effort here. I also want to thank our viewers because that's why we do this. Frank had mentioned over 2,500 registered. In my 10 years at Wespath, that's the highest number I can recall anyway in recent memory, one of these really outstanding events. Your role is important, whether you're active clergy, retired clergy, surviving spouse, or a lay participant. I thank you for whatever your role is in the United Methodist Church, and thank you again for joining us for Live from Wespath.